Here's a video on perspective drawing and an idea that can help with a couple different things. Can help with kind of checking the angles of your perspective box that you're drawing, as well as just sort of help you draw something big when the vanishing points are going to be way off the page. So what I have here is some erased out stuff, which I'm going to be getting to, but just your no nonsense kind of setup to be thinking about perspective. I have the left vanishing point and a right vanishing point. I have this closest edge, which I saw someplace called leading edge, which is probably what most people call that, but that was the first time I had seen it, so I like that. I'm going to start calling it the leading edge. And just some perspective lines going to the appropriate vanishing point. If that's all new to you, then look for more rudimentary earlier stuff. But one thing that's cool about it, and this is 2-point perspective. The thing that's cool, which you may already be able to see how I sketched in, is that if everything is set up accurately, and your verticals are vertical, and these are basically aiming towards the vanishing point, that any vertical that I choose from one of these upper vanishing points to the lower one, you should be able to create a rectangle that will meet at the corresponding points of all of the perspective lines, vanishing point perspective lines. I hope I said rectangle. So I should be able to find that kind of rectangle if these are if everything is set up accurately. I'm going to do an example over there. But for this one, I forget which one I kind of set up. I think I set up that one first, and it's true whether the leading edge is like this one is all the way below the horizon, if the leading edge is partly above and below the horizon, or all the way above. Let me sketch this one in. It does get tricky when you start getting these lines, and if they start getting close to horizontal, you need to be that much more careful. So this is kind of the idea behind this, and I learned about it all by myself. No, I think I was playing with this idea, but there is a concept called the Brewer method, that I think is the official technical concept that this is based around. But so I'm going to do a couple examples. One in which if you're drawing out a box, and you have done something, and I will say I'm just looking at these two planes right now. I'm not looking at the top plane or the bottom plane, but I'm trying to set things up with these two planes in an accurate way that will help me with that. So if I have something started out like that, and maybe something like that, I can check these 4 edges. I should be able to create a rectangle somewhere if they're all jiving up. And if they're not, that fact will help me adjust them. You'll get to sort of think about how to find the easiest rectangle. So at this point, even though, no, that's not perfect. In fact, it'd be a little... If I'm trying to make a rectangle with these sides, they match down here, but they're not matching up here, that tells me that something is awry. And that either one of these edges is going to have to change. I think I will make it that one. So now I could much more cleanly just imagine this rectangle with just verticals and horizontals, and they're jiving up on the, they're all matching up with points on the perspective lines. So that's one way to sort of correct your work. And just if you're coming at it more from starting a big drawing, let's make sure that's on the in camera. Farrand. What a beautiful light line. And your vanishing points are going to be way off the page. And you're like, oh man, I don't want to have to figure out all those crazy vanishing points. You can do something like this where you're setting up the basics of your perspective. And once you have these, a leading edge and 3, it can be any 3 of the perspective lines that are aiming somewhere towards a vanishing point way off there in the distance. I can use the information here to figure out what the angle of this final perspective line would be, which would mean that then I can kind of finish up my little world that I'm creating here. And I would do that by with the same idea by creating a rectangle that's only going to be, I'm going to have to kind of think about what rectangle I could make in this little world. I'm going to choose that line, and that doesn't have to be the edge of my box, but it's just helping me set up my rectangle. Once again, checking, doesn't seem quite horizontal, but it's around there. That's decently close. I think I'm going to go this way. I need a transparent ruler, by the way, I've learned. So if that is relatively horizontal, then by completing this rectangle, that point will tell me which direction this edge has to go. Draw a line between there and there. I'm just sort of doing the reverse of what I was doing over here. At least I think that's what I'm doing. So now I can be fairly confident that those perspective angles are accurate with each other. They're sort of all, they're in, like when you're tuning a guitar or an instrument, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's in perfect tune with everything else and all the instruments at the accepted pitch, but it is in tune with itself. So all these lines are going to help me set up the rest of my world. And I can be fairly accurate because I originally found that the inner rectangle, I might test that a little bit more. Coming back on it, it seems like maybe it's a little bit higher. But that's the idea. And then I can create anything I want based on these perspective lines, and anything else that I add, I will use these main lines that I have agreed upon are accurate for any others that I'm trying to figure out. Hopefully that helps. That's not the perfect solution. Vanishing points way off the page is a challenge. I'm not going to lie. At least it is for me. But hopefully that helps. Yeah, okay. Check it out.